Hello watch enthusiasts. Now today I have a collection review for Tom, one of my viewers, and he has a very extensive collection with a number of price points in it, so it's quite a nice collection to show you. So we'll start off with his first watch, which is a dress watch. It's the Orient Bambino. Now this is the first generation Bambino with the Roman numerals, and this is a very elegant dress watch at a very, very competitive price, considering it has an in-house movement. And definitely a nice one. A stainless steel piece, as you can see on this alligator-style strap. And with that black dial, it will suit a lot of situations. And I think really is a fantastic watch for the price. Now, of course, this watch is water-resistant for sort of splashes and so on, so it is also quite practical as an everyday watch too. Now, what's also nice about this watch is the domed crystal, which really does lend to a very 50s and 60s style of dress watch design, which is shown in this watch. This next watch is an Adriatic Address watch, which is an ETA 2824 powered dress watch with a gold-plated finish and a white sort of guilloche pattern on the dial. Which is very nice and lends a sort of an interesting reflection on the dial, which does make the watch look very bright and stand out. Now, as you say, Tom, this watch means a lot to you. It's your wedding watch, as you say, and it really is a nice piece, an attractive piece. The gold and the white dial suit each other very, very well, but it also retains sort of a slightly contemporary look with those jutting out lugs, which are again very, very typical of watches in the 60s, I think, and through into the very early 70s. The only difficulty with this watch is that it is gold plated, which means that it can rub off after a while, and this is always a problem, I think, with gold plated pieces, because usually it costs more to purchase another watch than to have a watch re-gold plated. So that for some people is an issue. Now, this next watch is a Rider dress watch, and it's quite interesting because it takes its design from the Nomos Tangente, and also is automatic, despite having the complication of a sub-second dial. And the movement in this is a seagull movement, so that's, for those who don't know Seagull, they're a Chinese movement manufacturer and a watch manufacturer, who generally make quite good movements at a very, very low price. For example, one sees a lot of budget mechanical chronographs using Seagull movements, simply because they are well made and well priced. Now, I must say, I really do love the combination of a blue purlon strap with this this classic design with a somewhat Bauhaus inspiration. And especially with those very discreet and minimal lugs, the strap suits the watch extremely well, matching its blued hands. Being a Nomos lover, I of course like this watch a lot. Now, this next watch is Tom's Betta watch. It's a Timex quartz chronograph, and it isn't my taste. I don't particularly like overly cluttered dials, and busy bezels and so on watches, but frankly, it's a Betta. It's not one of the most prestigious watches in this collection, and I can understand having a Timex for gardening and so on. I myself have a Timex for that sort of work, no, I can understand having one of these in every collection. It is important to have a watch one doesn't have to worry about too much, because of course, for example, I wouldn't garden with my Mercier on, or my Katia, because that would just be madness, so it is a good idea to have a Betta. And of course, what makes a better Betta than a quartz movement, because they're very shock resistant, and they're not particularly affected by magnetism, so they really are perfect for rugged use. Now then, there is a Katia Santos 100, and this is a gorgeous watch. I'm sure I won't be the only person saying it. The Katia Santos was, of course, designed for a famous aviator originally, to be worn in the cockpit. So these watches are rugged in terms of being quite resilient, but also have that beautiful Katia design, and I must say these truly are wonderful timepieces, and I wish to have one day. So congratulations on owning one of these, they really are wonderful. Now this is the Katia Santos 100, it's the automatic, and the two-tone with the gold bezel and the steel case, which is a perfect compromise between resistance to daily life and a sort of a luxurious gleam, which the gold adds to the whole watch, and also adds to that fairly simple cream dial. Now this next watch is the Krista Ford C60 Trident, and this is a great watch. For the price it's superb, with a 600 metre depth rating, and a ceramic bezel in a variety of different colours depending on what you want. It's also fitted on the alligator strap in this orange, which does lend for a very, very bright look, albeit it wouldn't be my choice, because I tend to keep divers off straps that aren't waterproof, simply because I find it defeats the object of owning a dive watch. However, if you do want to wear on a leather strap, that's fine, because this is one of the more dressy divers there are. And they're easily serviced, these two, because they have Sleater SW200s or ETA 2824s. So they are easily and fairly inexpensively serviced, making them very, very good value for money. Now next, Tom has a Casio G-Shock Tide and Moon watch, which he says is a beta and gym watch, and I can understand. The G-Shocks are perfect for example, the gym, where you're moving the watch around quite a lot. So you're putting quite a lot of stress on internal movements and parts if it's a mechanical watch. But of course, a G-Shock doesn't have any of the mechanical pieces that even a quartz has, so they really are perfect for that sort of activity, and are of course very, very resilient and rugged. And that's not even mentioning the fact that one can time things in the gym and so on with it, which are invaluable if you're doing exercise. Now next, Tom has a Seiko SKX 007 that's been modded in a sort of a Rolex style. So it has that Super Oyster bracelet, as opposed to the Jubilee bracelet these come on, and it has a GMT Master 2 style Batman ceramic bezel, which I do have a few questions about, but I'll mention those in a moment. And of course, the SKX 007 is an icon. It's a wonderful dive watch with that classic Japanese style 4 o'clock crown and rotating dive bezel, and those different differentiable hands which are easily legible in the dark. It also has some of the best lume in the business, which is always a plus. And that day-date complication is really quite nice to have, and has saved me some looks at my calendar before. Now, my only question about this watch is why there is a GMT Master style bezel put on this watch. Simply because though it looks wonderful, and I do agree it does look wonderful, it's a 24-hour bezel, and this watch runs in 12-hour cycles. So as a result, the bezel can't actually work with the movement itself, and the watch itself. So the bezel is redundant, effectively, despite looking very, very nice. So I personally would have been inclined to fit a two-tone dive bezel, so a Batman dive bezel, which are available as well in this ceramic. Now this second Seiko is a Seiko SRP 637K1 watch, and this is part of the Prospects line. And I really wouldn't get rid of this watch, as Tom is considering he's selling this watch, because I think it's a really individual watch and very typical for Seiko, with that shroud on the case, and that very round sort of puck style of case, which really is typical of their dive section, Prospects. Now the bracelet is this sort of very fine link bracelet, which I think looks excellent with this very, very masculine, bold case, with quite short, stubby hands, and is of course very, very legible because it's got such a large amount of lume on the dial. Of course, that shroud around the case protects it from shocks and so on, which is again a typical Seiko Prospects feature. It also has a steel bezel, which of course can be rebrushed if it gets scratched, which is I suppose an advantage of having a steel bezel rather than a painted one. Now last and definitely not least is an Omega Speedmaster Professional. Now this is the man on the moon. This is the classic Professional. It's the manually wound one with the Hesselite crystal. And it's on the original bracelet, which I think is something that very, very few people wear their Speedmasters on. Most people wear their bracelets on NATOs or leather straps, and it's very refreshing to see one on the bracelet. And of course this is a beautiful and iconic watch. I mean, what can I say? It is an icon. It has that classic Speedmaster Omega Sport design case, and that tachymeter bezel, and that tall domed Hesselite crystal covering those very simple hands, and those baton style hands really are typical of this watch. And I think are in many ways the most practical hands you can get on a Speedmaster, simply because they don't obscure the subdials because of their narrow nature. Now, of course, these do have the Omega manually wound movement, which is so famous. So of course, this really is an icon, and definitely one to keep in the collection for years on. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and thank you, Tom, for sending me your collection to review and to show my viewers. So thank you very much for watching. This is On the Watch Guy. Please do like, share and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Over and out.